A family is enjoying a vacation on their yacht in the Caribbean. The mother, Julia, jumps into the water for a swim. While relaxing in the ocean, she suddenly feels something strange nearby. Since she cannot see anything around her, she assumes it is just her imagination. A few seconds later, she feels the same disturbing sensation again. This time, panic takes over, and she quickly starts swimming back toward the yacht. Suddenly, something grabs her leg from underwater, and she screams for help. Her daughter, Cassie, is listening to music with headphones, so she hears nothing. Meanwhile, her husband, Tom, and their son, Ben, are busy fishing. Julia struggles to stay above the surface, but the water entering her mouth makes it hard for her to scream. After some time, Tom realizes he has not seen Julia for a while. He searches around the yacht and finally spots her struggling in the water. Tom quickly calls the children for help. He moves the yacht closer and immediately dives into the ocean. Reaching Julia within seconds, he grabs her and swims back toward the yacht. The children help pull both of them safely on board. The family takes care of Julia, but she convinces herself that the incident was probably caused by rough waves. That night, everyone gathers to celebrate Ben's birthday. During the celebration, Cassie receives a call from her boyfriend. She takes her laptop outside to continue the video call. Her boyfriend shows her huge, dark clouds gathering over the city. Suddenly, the video freezes and the call begins glitching badly. Cassie goes back to inform the family about it, but Tom says the signal is probably weak because they are far from land. Just then, everyone hears a strange sound outside. They rush out and see a massive group of whales swimming past the yacht. Tom explains that whales normally follow the Earth's magnetic field, but storms can confuse their sense of direction. Without warning, the yacht shakes violently, causing Ben to fall. Concerned that the yacht may have been damaged, Tom dives underwater to inspect it. A short time later, he resurfaces with a deep wound on his shoulder. Julia immediately treats and stitches the injury. Tom explains that while underwater, he felt as though a giant creature was chasing him. However, when he turned around, he only noticed a cut caused by the yacht's propeller. Even so, he insists that whatever brushed past him felt enormous. After checking further, Tom discovers serious damage to the yacht. Realizing the situation is dangerous, they try to call for help. Julia repeatedly attempts to contact someone through the radio. At the same time, Cassie searches for a signal on her phone, but nothing works. Moments later, Cassie suddenly spots a strange figure and screams in fear. But it turns out to be Ben, wearing a mask and playing a prank on her. After some time, the yacht completely loses power, leaving the family stranded in the middle of the ocean. Julia later hears a voice coming through the radio, but the signal is so distorted that she cannot understand it. Tom tells the family they only have enough food and water to survive for 4 more days. He says they must wait and hope that a fishing boat eventually passes nearby. Suddenly, the radar detects something unusual, followed by another strange sound. Everyone rushes outside in shock and watches countless meteorites falling from the sky. Massive explosions erupt wherever the meteorites crash. One of the meteorites lands in the ocean very close to them. Seeing the danger, Tom immediately tries to restart the yacht. The engine barely starts running, but then another falling object crashes into the same area. The family holds on to each other tightly in fear. Tom suddenly realizes that the fiery objects falling from the sky are not meteorites, but satellites. At that moment, Ben notices smoke coming from the yacht. Tom quickly checks the engine and confirms that it has completely failed. As the wind grows stronger, the family hides inside the yacht. None of them notice that the compass is spinning rapidly without stopping. Soon, the yacht begins shaking violently. Ben falls once again and injures himself this time. Massive waves slam against the sides of the yacht. Tom struggles outside and manages to grab life jackets for everyone. Suddenly, the power cuts out completely. Tom quickly presses the control switch and the lights come back on. At that moment, Ben notices blood coming from Julia's nose. Julia starts feeling dizzy, while Cassie rushes to the sink and vomits. Tom continues trying to contact someone through the radio, but there is still no signal. Without warning, a loud, high-pitched sound fills the air, and the wind becomes even more violent. Julia attempts to shut the doors, but a hatch suddenly swings open. The powerful wind starts shattering the windows. Tom lights a flare as darkness slowly takes over the surroundings. The next morning, the family wakes up in shock after surviving the terrifying storm. However, they discover that the yacht has been badly damaged. When they step outside, they are stunned to see that the seawater has completely disappeared. Their yacht is now stranded on dry ground. Everyone is left speechless by the unbelievable sight. Cassie checks her phone again, but there is still no network signal. Meanwhile, Ben starts playing with 2 dead crabs nearby. Tom examines the compass and realizes it is flipped upside down. He explains that this kind of magnetic reversal last happened nearly 700,000 years ago. Cassie fears that her boyfriend may have died and begins crying uncontrollably. When Julia tries to comfort her, Cassie pushes her away and isolates herself. Later, Julia and Tom check their remaining food and supplies. Ben ties his birthday balloons to a rock, hoping someone out there might notice them. Tom tries using the radio once again and finally connects with a man named Now. Now reveals that he is the captain of a submarine. He explains that his submarine has also become stranded. According to Now, the Earth's magnetic poles have reversed, causing the oceans to pull back and exposing the land beneath. He says communication systems across the world are no longer functioning properly. Now also warns them that the poles will eventually reverse again. When that happens, the ocean will rush back attack with devastating force. He advises the family to reach the highest place possible before the water returns. Now sadly reveals that his partner died during the disaster. He also says the submarine only has enough room for 3 people. Hearing this, Julia and Tom beg him to save their children if necessary. Now shares his location coordinates with them. After calculating the distance, Tom estimates that reaching the submarine will take 2 or 3 days. He tells the family to get some rest because they will begin the journey the next morning. The following day, while the family is preparing to leave, Tom notices movement nearby. He sees an injured man holding a harpoon while a dog barks loudly beside him. Tom carefully approaches the stranger and offers him a bottle of water. However, the man speaks in a language that Tom cannot understand. After drinking the water, the stranger suddenly smashes the bottle against Tom's head. He then kicks Tom hard in the face. Julia panics and tries to run away, but it is already too late. The man suddenly drives the harpoon into Tom's stomach. Tom struggles in pain for a few moments before the attacker slashes his neck. The stranger then chases after Julia and throws the harpoon at her. The weapon strikes her shoulder, badly injuring her. Ignoring the pain, Julia rushes back inside the yacht and tells the children to hide immediately. She quickly locks the door behind them. Cassie and Ben crawl under the sofa to hide. Julia gives them the flare gun for protection. She grabs a knife for herself and hides inside the bathroom. The man repeatedly bangs on the door before finally forcing his way inside. He first grabs some food and then begins searching through the yacht. A few moments later, he heads toward the bathroom. However, Julia quietly slips out through a small opening before he reaches her. The man assumes that Julia has already escaped, but while sneaking away, Julia is spotted by the man's dog, which immediately starts barking. The dog attacks her, forcing Julia to stab it with the knife. Hearing the dog cry out, the man rushes over and becomes furious after seeing the animal dead. Meanwhile, Julia tries to enter the yacht from the opposite side. She climbs upward and attempts to crawl through a broken window. Unfortunately, the man reaches her before she can get inside. He grabs Julia and punches her hard, causing her to fall. Julia desperately tries to escape by holding on to nearby furniture, but the man violently kicks her away. He then steps on her wrist, forcing her to drop the knife. Grabbing her by the hair, he slams her face against the floor. After that, he throws her onto the sofa and begins choking her. The terrified children watch everything from their hiding place. Unable to stay hidden any longer, Cassie jumps out and fires the flare gun at the attacker. The flare strikes him directly and his clothes burst into flames. The fire quickly spreads through the yacht. Cassie and Ben immediately run outside to escape. Despite being injured, Julia gets back up and kicks the burning man, knocking him unconscious. She quickly grabs the map and supplies before running away with the children. Ben and Cassie rush toward their father and break down in tears. Julia sits beside Tom, and together the family says an emotional goodbye to him. Suddenly, the terrifying man emerges from the burning yacht once again. The family immediately starts running for their lives. Moments later, the yacht explodes with a massive blast behind them. After traveling some distance, they stop near a small waterfall to rest. Cassie realizes that the attacker may have found them because of the balloons Ben released earlier. Hearing this, Ben begins blaming himself for everything. Julia comforts him and explains that none of it was his fault. She reminds everyone that the man is still hunting them, so they must keep moving. While walking, Ben is shocked to discover a dead hammerhead shark lying near a small pond. At the same moment, Julia notices the attacker approaching them once again. The family immediately runs away and slides down a large sand dune. At the bottom, they discover an area filled with toxic waste. They carefully make their way across it and believe they have finally escaped the man. As they continue traveling, they notice huge dead sea creatures and piles of plastic scattered across the exposed ocean floor. Ben gradually becomes weaker and starts walking more slowly. Julia quickly realizes that he is becoming severely dehydrated. She tells everyone to stop and rest for a moment. When Julia checks the water bottle, she is horrified to see that almost all the water is gone. Cassie realizes she probably forgot to close the bottle properly. Julia angrily blames Cassie for wasting the remaining water through carelessness. Frustrated and hopeless, Cassie replies that it does not matter because they are probably going to die anyway. The two begin arguing intensely with each other. Despite the tension, the family continues moving forward. After walking for some time, they come across a crashed airplane. At first, everyone becomes terrified after hearing movement inside the wreckage. However, they soon realize it is only a group of birds trapped inside. Since night is approaching, the family decides to stay inside the plane for shelter. While sharing a small snack, Julia discovers a family photograph inside Tom's jacket. Seeing the picture fills her with sadness and heartbreak. Cassie quietly asks her mother how she and Tom first fell in love. Julia smiles softly and explains that Tom was once her patient at the hospital. She says that one day he confessed his feelings by bringing her flowers along with a heartfelt poem. Later that night, Cassie quietly steps outside the plane. Suddenly, the terrifying man appears behind her and tries to grab her. Before he can attack, Julia rushes in from behind and repeatedly stabs him. This time, the attacker finally dies. Cassie becomes overwhelmed with fear, but Julia calms her by hugging her tightly. The following morning, the man's dead body is covered with insects. The family also notices strange bite marks on him, suggesting that dangerous creatures may be nearby. As they leave the area, crabs begin crawling out from the corpse's mouth. Several hours hours later, Julia and Cassie stop to study the map. Meanwhile, Ben slowly walks ahead of them. Julia suddenly shouts for him to stop, but before she can reach him, Ben kneels beside a pond and begins drinking the water. Julia immediately pulls him away and warns him that unknown water could make him seriously ill. As the heat from the sun grows unbearable, the family covers their heads with pieces of clothing. Ben starts feeling weak and dizzy from exhaustion. Soon, they discover a few old chairs scattered nearby. Using them, Julia and Cassie quickly build a temporary shelter. Julia gives Ben an injection and decides they should rest there for the night. The next morning, Julia wakes up after hearing a strange sound outside. When she looks out, she is horrified to see a massive swarm of crabs moving toward them. She quickly grabs the children, and all three of them begin running for safety. While escaping, they spot a large cargo ship nearby. Inside, 3 crew members are still alive. One of the women wants to help the family, but the other 2 refuse. Instead, they lock themselves safely inside a shipping container and leave Julia and the children outside. Meanwhile, the deadly crabs continue getting closer. Julia helps the children climb onto the top of the container. As she tries to climb up herself, one of the crabs bites her leg. Cassie and Ben quickly pull her up before she falls back down. At the same time, many of the crabs enter the container through a hole. The crew members begin shooting at the creatures, but they are quickly overwhelmed. The crabs attack and kill 2 of them. The last surviving crew member tries escaping through an opening in the roof. However, the crabs drag him down and kill him as well. After surviving the attack, Julia bandages her injured leg and eventually loses consciousness. Sometime later, she wakes up in the middle of a powerful sandstorm. Realizing the children are gone, she panics and desperately searches for them. She picks up a weapon lying beside a dead woman and starts calling out loudly. After hearing her voice, Cassie returns and explains that she and Ben had gone searching for help but could not find anyone. Soon afterward, they reunite with Ben, who discovers an open shipping container where they can safely stay until the storm passes. Julia takes Tom's lighter and carefully cauterizes her wound. The process is extremely painful, but it helps stop the bleeding. After the sandstorm finally passes, the family discovers another shipping container nearby. Inside, they find several bottles of water. While searching through the dead bodies, they also recover a radio and a gun. Julia quickly contacts Nao through the radio and explains that they lost the map. Nao tells them that the creatures attacking people are arthropods that became aggressive because of the lack of oxygen. He warns the family to hurry, because his instruments show that the ocean will return much sooner than expected. According to him, they only have a few hours left before the massive waves come back. Nao then fires a flare into the sky to guide them toward his location. Following the signal, the family begins walking in that direction. After a long and exhausting journey, they come across a broken toilet where Ben stops briefly to urinate. Soon afterward, they finally spot the submarine in the distance. However, reaching it requires crossing a dangerous rocky path. As they move across the cliffs, the ground suddenly begins shaking violently. Large rocks start falling around them, triggering a terrifying landslide. Julia quickly pushes the children out of danger while stepping back herself to avoid being crushed. When the rocks finally stop falling, a massive stone wall separates Julia from her children. Realizing there is no easy way through, Julia tells Cassie and Ben to continue without her. Cassie refuses and desperately begs her mother to keep trying to climb. After a long emotional argument, Julia promises that she will find them again. With no other choice, Cassie pulls Ben forward and continues toward the submarine. The children finally climb across the rocky path and run to the submarine. When they arrive, they discover Nao lying outside, covered in blood. He weakly explains that he is dying and tells the children they can use the submarine to survive. Realizing there is now enough space for everyone, Cassie immediately runs back to rescue her mother. Meanwhile, Julia notices the deadly crabs approaching once again. She begins shooting at them and manages to kill several creatures. However, the swarm is far too large, making it impossible to stop them all. At that moment, Cassie appears above the rocky wall and reaches out her hand toward Julia. Despite the pain in her injured leg, Julia forces herself to climb upward as quickly as possible. With Cassie's help, she finally reaches the other side. Together, they run toward the submarine. Ben is already waiting above and fires shots to distract the crabs while his family climbs aboard. As soon as the creatures reach the submarine, they begin tearing into its outer surface. Julia continues firing her weapon until the children safely climb inside. Once they are secure, Julia realizes she has run out of bullets. She throws the empty gun at the creatures and climbs inside with her children. The family quickly seals the hatch and watches the crabs surround the submarine through the small window. Moments later, the ocean suddenly rushes back with incredible force. The 3 of them strap themselves into their seats and hold each other's hands tightly. Massive waves violently toss the submarine through the water. As chaos surrounds them, Julia begins seeing flashes of everything they endured during the journey. Cassie suddenly vomits as the submarine shakes uncontrollably. Soon, the strange high-pitched sound returns once again. Overwhelmed by the pressure and chaos, the family eventually loses consciousness. After some time, Julia and the children slowly wake up. To their relief, they realize they are still alive. They unlock the hatch and climb outside. The family is shocked to see the submarine floating through the remains of a destroyed city. Even after all the destruction, they realize there is still hope for survival, and the the chance to begin a new life. This is where the story comes to an end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for more exciting videos like this. Thanks for watching.